You're looking at the oldest living thing on Earth, but it's not what you think. It's not this. It's not even that. It's actually this. And to be clear, this is just the tip of the iceberg. This one reef in Australia is more than 500 million years old. To put that in perspective, humans have only been around for about 300,000 years. That means this reef has been alive for 1,000 times longer than us. And much like all of us, it's sending out a silent distress call. It's bleached white, which scientists say is a sign of stress. But if we want to hear its SOS, we need to get up close and personal. And no, you can't just pop over to this reef because it's located right here, deep under the ocean off the coast of Western Australia. So, to investigate, we sent someone in. Hey, I'm your host, and this is our channel. And today we're going to dive into an incredible discovery made by one person. Remember her name? Lisa. She's a marine scientist who studies jellyfish and other organisms in the ocean. But in 2009, she got a phone call that would change everything. The Australian Institute of Marine Science was calling her. They needed help identifying some weird stuff they found growing on a coral reef in the Rolly Shoal, a group of islands about 260 kilometers from the northwest coast of Australia. She took a small plane ride over there and then a boat ride to the shallow reefs where she could see the source of the mystery. She spotted these massive structures, kind of like big boulders that looked completely out of place among the otherwise delicate corals. And the team knew they had to find out how something so big could grow in such a seemingly fragile environment. So they chipped off a piece, dropped it into a bucket, brought it back to the lab, and started their investigation. It took a few months to figure it out, but when they finally did, it blew their minds. These strange rock-like things were actually living coral. Not just any coral, they were a type of coral called a corallimorph. Corallimorph is a class of marine organisms that live in the ocean. They're closely related to corals and sea anemones, but technically they're not classified as either one. As far as we know, there are only about 100 species of corallimorph worldwide, and they tend to live in the deep ocean at depths of at least 30 meters. This particular species, the corallimorph from the Rolly Shoals, hasn't even been formally classified yet. But even though it may be unidentified, it's already in trouble. After some research, the team discovered that most of the corallimorph specimens they found came from very specific places. They were all attached to dead shells of scallops or other and those shells were only found in shallow water. So, the team hypothesized that the corallimorphs might be adapting to new environments. They were making their way up from the depths and changing the way they look to survive. But why? Well, one theory is that human activity is causing changes in the ocean that are forcing them to adapt or die. Here's the thing. Corallimorphs usually live really deep down, so they've evolved to survive with very little light. They're totally fine with almost no sunlight, so they don't need to be in shallow water. But as the ocean warms, many deep-sea creatures are moving toward the poles in search of colder temperatures. And as they move, they bring predators with them. Corallimorphs need to get away from those predators, so they're moving up to shallower waters where there are fewer predators. That's also likely why they're attaching themselves to dead shells. Shells provide protection from predators, which is good news for corallimorphs, since they're pretty squishy inside. But it's not great news for us humans. See, as corallimorphs move up to new habitats, they're bringing diseases with them, and those diseases aren't picky. They'll infect other organisms, including endangered ones like sea turtles, and commercially important ones like fish. And even though we don't fully understand what makes corallimorphs move, or why they're moving now, it's clear that we need to learn more about them before we lose them. So back in the lab, the team set up several experiments to study these mysterious creatures. They fed them different foods to see what they liked best. Turns out they're carnivorous, and they love to eat mysids, a type of small crustacean. Then the researchers tried to figure out how they reproduce. They needed to figure out if they grew by budding, which is kind of like how coral grows, or if they reproduced sexually. But it turns out that these guys do both. They can grow from buds that come off their parent. And they can also produce eggs and sperm. And while the team worked on figuring out what exactly the coralline morphs were, another team headed out to the reef once again. This time, they wanted to find out how big the coralline morphs could get. And what they found was bigger than anyone expected. They discovered a corallimorph colony that was more than 10 meters wide. That's about the size of a London bus. But it wasn't just the size that surprised them. It was also the age. The team estimated that the colony was at least 4,360 years old. Now, for comparison, that's older than Stonehenge. It's older than the Egyptian pyramids. It's older than the entire ancient city of Petra. And that's not all. In total, the scientists estimate that the entire reef is between 600 and 1,000 years old, which means that it's been alive for as long as the Egyptian pyramids have been around. And it's still growing, albeit very slowly. The team says that the central part of the reef grows at a rate of 1 millimeter per year. And the outer parts grow even slower than that. And even though this reef seems to be doing okay, others in the area aren't so lucky. A few years ago, scientists noticed that coral reefs near Ningaloo Coast were losing color. That's not normally a good thing, because coloring corals is actually algae that lives inside them. It helps them make food through photosynthesis. So without it, corals turn white, a process scientists call coral bleaching. The corals can recover if conditions improve. But if they don't, well, it doesn't end well for the corals. And it's all because of us. Our burning of fossil fuels is warming the oceans and causing rising sea levels, both of which are destroying coral reefs. We've already lost half of the world's coral reefs. And if we do undo something to fix this, we'll lose the rest. So let this be a wake-up call. We need to take action before it is too late. And we lose the amazing corallimorphs and all the other life that depends on coral reefs. This ancient Australian reef is sending out a silent distress call. It's bleaching white, which scientists say is a sign of stress. But if we want to hear its SOS, we need to get up close and personal. And no, you can't just pop over to this reef because it's located right here, deep under the ocean off the coast of Western Australia. So, to investigate, we sent someone in. Okay, that was me. Thanks for joining me on this incredible journey to one of the most remote places on Earth. If you liked this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe so you never miss an adventure. And hey, if you want to learn more about coral reefs, check out our video about a coral reef cleanup crew. It is a fascinating look at how even the smallest creatures play a big role in keeping coral reefs healthy. Click here to watch it now.